Hey guys, welcome back. This is Rob from Ruinworks, just bringing you the latest release for March 2023. This is called the Moldy Manor. I'm flipping through the levels of this scene right now. As you can see, there's 7 of them. Right now, the lowest level is essentially just this cliff basin up at the top of the map. It goes all the way through the cellars to the first floor and all the way up to the 4th floor, and then the 5th floor is essentially just the rooftops. Scrolling up to the top of the scene here, I have another control panel for terrain options. This allows you to switch what kind of terrain the Moldy Manor exists in. So currently you are looking at the grassland variation. If you go one down, you can get the mountainous variation. The idea here being that the Moldy Manor is kind of built on a cliffside. And then last of all, we have the desert variation. To each of the variations, you can add water to the north section of the map here where there is the cliff basin. So here you can see the desert now instead has water instead of the cliff bottom, and you can see actually the underwater tile has also changed to show some sort of underwater variation for the area. And this can be done for all 3 variations: mountainside or the grassland. Now the cool part about the water is if you actually go to the cliff bottom section and drop a token here, the token is actually under the water. So you can have your players go diving under the water if you want. So the water is actually set as an overhead tile to the cliff bottom level. Whenever you have players on that level, they are actually below the water. I'm just going to take this token and run them through all the levels just to give you a bit of a visual. There is no elevation change here to get tokens down to this level, so if you do want to put them at the level of cliff bottom, you'd actually have to select their token and change their elevation manually. So right now I'm going to put them up to the cellar level. So that's a quick run through of all the floors that you can see inside of the Moldy Manor. I hope you like it, guys. Let me know how you would like me to address this scene in future. I'm planning on making this a more customizable scene where I'll give you variations for all the rooms, and you can have PCs or NPCs upgrade the manor as you see fit. But I'd like to get some suggestions of which rooms you would like to be what. Also of note is just that, as always, in the top left hand corner of the scene, I've included the journal note for the manor. Here I give you a couple of general notes, describe the different terrain options, and then for each room I've also provided just a bit of detail of what items might be found there and how I envisioned the room being set up. And at the very bottom we also have just a little tab with some adventure ideas, how they might come across the Moldy Manor, how you might want to incorporate it into your campaign. Since I think this video is taking a bit less time than usual, I'll do a brief tutorial on how I do use Monk's active tiles to switch images to give you these buttons in the margins in case anybody's curious about how that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this tile off here. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just pulled off this water tile, moved it over just so you can see which tile I have selected. This is the water tile. When I click my grassland button, the water tile disappears, and you can see the scene is just a regular overland scene. When I click the coast button, this water tile does come up, and it would normally be over top of the appropriate area on the map. The way I've done this is, for the water tile itself, if you select it, select the tile tool, select the tile, double click on the tile, it'll pull up the tile configuration box. First thing you want to note is that I've added a tag down here, water. You can add a tag to any tile you want, and you can name it whatever you want. So if you just want to name my tile, just enter my tile, add tags, and now if you ever want to call upon this tile for whatever reason, you can call upon this tag instead, the tag my tile. So that's the first thing you'd want to notice on this water tile. Second thing is under the triggers tab, there's 3 sub-tabs. Under the images tabs, I've put in 2 images. The first one here is the water image, and you can see currently being shown is number 1. The second tile I've put in here is just a transparent tile, so something that's invisible when the second image is selected. So if I put in image 2, you can see the image of the water disappears because now we have the transparent tile there. So those are the 2 images that I have set for this water tile, the water and a transparent tile. Now when I go to my buttons in the control panel, you can do the same thing. They're tiles as well. You can double click on them to open up their config again and go over to their triggers. So when you open up the configuration and go to setup, this dictates how the tile is activated and who can activate it. So what I have here, only the GM can activate this tile, and he activates it by click. There's a bunch of different options you can choose, but for buttons, obviously click is the one to go to. I also selected this hover pointer option so that when you're over top of one of the buttons, the mouse pointer changes. So now we come to the Actions tab. In relation to the previous tile we were looking at, the water tile, that was called water. So here we can see this button tile is calling to switch the water tile to image 1. Image 1 was the water. So whenever you click on the coast button here, it switches the water tile to image 1 water. If I were to look at the base, go to triggers, actions, you can see that it's switching the water tile to 2. That's the transparent one, because on the base we don't want the water to show. So that forms the basis of how I switch the images for the tiles. I first place the tile, select which image is here, the water tile we want to use, and then in the button tiles, I call out which of those images I want to show, and it'll switch those to them using switch tile image action. So I've done that for the cliff bottom, for level 1, for the cellar level, and for the water level, anything that is changing. I also had to add in another one for the shadows, because the shadows kind of do change if they are shining on top of the water or shining at the cliff bottom. Last thing that I'll note here is these bottom 2 actions. These are just to show you which tile or which option has been selected in the control panel. So what this does is this will set all tiles named MMX to an alpha of 0.25, that's their transparency level, alpha. And then after it's changed all of them to 0.25, it'll alter the tile you've just clicked to have an alpha of 1. That's how you kind of get these grayed out tiles for the ones that aren't selected, and then the one that was selected has now been changed to an alpha of 1, and it kind of shows brighter than the others. That's just a little nice to have, so it's more clear what you currently have selected. So that's really all I wanted to go over for this brief tutorial. I was considering putting in little tips like this at the ends of my videos. I just don't want my videos to go too long, and some of my scenes recently have been a bit on the longer side when I've made the videos. So let me know if you'd like having these little explanations at the end of the videos. So I can go over how I alter walls, how I do light changes, and things like that. Keep that in mind and let me know if you want to see more of these tips and tricks. See you at the end of the month with release number 2. Bye for now.